Hey monkeys! How you doing? Damian Keys here. Welcome to the new number 14 edition of the hashtag Ask Damo show. So this is where we answer your questions about music industry, business, social media, anything we can help with, and we'll answer them to the most up-to-date of where social media and brand building is at the moment. With me, as always, is Melissa to ask the questions, and you've got your single out.
I have, yeah. My single came out, just this past Tuesday.
So people will be watching this thinking, what does she do? And I can tell you what she does.
Mystery.
She writes songs. You sing in a band.
No, it's called Thinking Down, and my band's called Stranger Girl, so go check it out.
Where can people find you?
On Facebook mainly. We're across all socials, but Facebook's our big one.
And so it's facebook.com//
Stranger Girl Music.
Stranger Girl Music. So go and check it out and leave some feedback. We've got loads of posts. We've got so much post that
rolling in post.
Rather than do it, because I've been away for a couple of weeks, I do apologise. I don't apologise. I had a fucking great time. But we have got some posts.
Singapore.
So I was in Singapore, and I went to Indonesia, and I've been writing a book, which will be revealed soon. But we have some posts which I'm going to go through. We're going to do some now. We're going to do some next week. Because I want to make sure that everyone gets the full fair whack and it's not just too many people. So thank you very much if you send some posts. If you haven't, but you're thinking, why aren't we featured on the show? Then all you've got to do is literally send in presents, merchandise. We'll get it featured on the show. So firstly, let's see what we've got. We have got here a t-shirt. I'm a size small, by the way. That says... Oh, air-drawn dagger. Yeah, okay, air-drawn dagger. Brilliant. Yeah, I love these guys. These guys are wicked. And thank you very much for this. This is a t-shirt that will definitely be worn. I'll take a picture of this later on, and I'll make sure it's on my Instagram. I've got a CD as well. I'm going to put the CD on the wall. We're going to put that right there. But obviously, I'll have a listen, and I'll be messaging you guys.
Look at how mighty the wall is.
The wall is getting there, isn't it? That's the whole point. We're filling up the wall. So if you want to get your music on there, if you want to get your t-shirt on me, I'm a size small. If you want to get, more importantly, a t-shirt on someone more attractive than me, then Melissa is a size
small.
So there you go.
Thanks.
We got stuff. We love stuff. This is the reason of doing the show, is because we love stuff. Over there.
Prime reason.
We thank you for tearing our Facebook apart. From the guys from Fitlicking. Now, if you haven't seen, we do a Facebook review. So the idea of Facebook review is that I can actually delve down deep into individual bands' Facebook accounts and actually go into what's good and what's not so good. These guys let me rip into their Facebook, and very good sports about it. Fitlicking, and also a band I would definitely go and see live. So if you do come down to the very southwest of England from Scotland, I will absolutely be there. But I love the fact that it says, "Near bad yourself." I hope that wasn't too bad an impression of Scotland. I have a few friends that would probably kill me for saying that. I'll be putting that on Instagram and stuff. We've got a box.
What's in the big box?
What's in the box? Oh, do you know what we've got? I've been asking for this for a long time, and I feel like we have...
Is it what we think it is?
Our prayers have been answered. Our prayers have been answered by a band called The Working Man. Look at this. That says...
Oh, that's sick.
That says... Sex...
Wizard.
Sex Wizard. I love it.
Shazam Kapow.
Now, I love this band. Now, if you want to see something completely freaky and absolute fucked up, there is a band called The Working Man, and they make videos. I don't know if you've seen any of their stuff, but they make videos where they're all kind of dressed up in very weird costumes. It's kind of a cross between horror movies and music. And when I first saw it, I remember just thinking, I don't know if I like this, but I can't stop watching it. And then every time I saw another video, I was like, I really do like this. Yeah. But this is the fucked up part of my brain going, yeah, I really do like this. Yeah. And every time I show people, they always go, this is fucking weird. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. So I am a big fan of this band. It's creativity at its most.
A mug.
It is a mug. Aww. So, I mean, we've got our Alter Eden mug. We've also got our Gorilla Right mug. But now we have a new mug entering the fray, The Working Man. Thank you so much. I will drink some more out of this. not that I'm relegating any mugs, I'm going to take it in turns, but if you want to send a mug, if you want to send a t-shirt, if you want to send a CD, you want to send something for the wall, send a sticker, then the address is below. Send it to hashtag AskDamoShow and in the address, and we will make sure we do a feature and say thank you very much. But on with the show. Let's do some questions.
Alright, so first one is from Jamo?
Jamo?
Jamo? What's the best platform to sell music from?
That's a very good question. So taking this back right to the beginning. Firstly, a question I always ask. When people say, we've got an EP coming out, we've got an album coming out, we've got a single coming out, the first question that I always ask is, okay, stop. Why? Before we start working on strategies, before we start working on where we're going to put it, where we're going to sell it, how we're going to promote it, the first question is, why are we doing this first? What are we trying to achieve? Now, this is a very straightforward question. We are selling this. So firstly, that is the golden rule. We've decided what we're going to do. We've got music. We are now going to sell the music. Brilliant. So therefore, we need a strategy that goes along with selling the music. Now, there's a lot that goes into this. And what bands tend to do is they tend to not document their journey, not show off their journey, not market it from when they're songwriting. They just get the music and they say, here's our music, who wants it? And at that point, people go, I'm not really bought into it. So, we talk about this quite a lot of marketing something well before, months before you come to sell it. So you're actually telling people the journey that you're going on and what they will need to do at some point. Now, with this, let's take into consideration that's all been done, and it's just going to be what is the actual platform to sell the music from. Now, there are a few different answers to this, but the main big answer is that you do it from one focused point. Because what I tend to see people hedging their bets and spreading the risk. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think it's complicated. And I think what you should do is you should say, if we're going to do a physical release, then what we're going to do is we're going to have targets for a physical release. If then you put it on Spotify and you put it on iTunes and you have a CD, all of a sudden it gets very, very complicated. And I personally think for an unsigned band, I'm not talking about, I don't want people to start writing and go, what about Royal Blood? You can buy their music anywhere. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is you're in a band, you've built your fan base, you've got a good following, you want to start selling your music. How are you going to do that? Simple economics and simple business profiling. So therefore what we're going to do is we're going to give people not too many options to go and buy the music. Now, if you are going to sell it physically on CD, then I would make that the thing. And then I would even make it into a fun thing of, I'm going to sell it as CDs. If you want one, you have to go on the website, you have to send me an email, and then what we'll do is we'll personally hand sign every CD and you make it into merchandise. Now, if this is about platform and you're not doing the physical, you're just doing the digital, then I would look into, iTunes is going to be huge, and in order to get on iTunes, there's plenty of companies like CD Baby that will help you get your music onto iTunes. But if this is about selling music, then for me it's very, very simple. It starts off with, in a couple of months we'll be releasing an album, but we are now making the album and we're going to take you through the process. Then we make the album and we're going to keep saying the release date is this day, the way you are going to need to buy this is X, and there from that point you keep working at it and pitching. It's like if you say, we've got 10 gigs, come to any of our gigs, then it's the same crowd that tend to come to the gigs, give or take 10 to 20%. And then all you've done is you split them over a bunch of gigs. So for me, when it comes to that underground scene, when you're building up your fan base, the most important thing for me is having one focal point. This is how you get hold of our music. And that way you can put all of your focus into sending people and funneling them into one place. So don't try and do digital, physical, streaming and everything at the same time, unless you've got a big enough audience that will listen to your stuff streaming and go and buy it. Because what I'm seeing at the moment in this day and age is too much tradition, is too much saying, but that's what bands have done in the past, and it's not working. Because if you say to someone, do you want this for free? And they say yes, and then say, cool, do you want to pay for it? They're going to say, not really, I don't really want to pay for it. So you've got to either drip feed bits and say, if you want the rest of it, then you buy it. Or you say, we're going to give you the music, but we're going to make our money from touring. Or we're going to give you a single, but your job is to buy the album. Or we're going to give you 30 seconds of the song, but if you want the whole thing, we need you to go and buy it. So you're not just saying, here's all our stuff, by the way, do you want to buy it? The only thing that people are going to buy is the stuff that they can't get hold of. So that's my advice. It doesn't make too much difference of what the best platform is. For me, I'm a massive fan of physical distribution. Still, I just still think it's a really cool thing because there's something a little bit retro and cool about it, and people will buy merchandise. But if you want to go down the digital, I would say take all that away, get it on iTunes. It's the biggest. It's the biggest platform. Get it on iTunes, and it spans all ages because my mum will be able to buy something on iTunes because they'll have an iTunes account. So you're not trying to get them to sign up then and go, actually, you could just go on Bandcamp, plus you can go on iTunes, or you could go on something else. It just gets very convoluted. If you tell my mum to go on Bandcamp, she won't have a clue. So therefore, you're going to have iTunes and Bandcamp, and it gets complicated. So I think go with the easiest way of promoting the entire thing onto one place is what I would do. Now, as bands get bigger and bigger and bigger, you can obviously start to spread out where you're putting the music. But at the moment, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing bands with too small an audience giving them too much choice. And that's the main thing to cut out. I would like to see bands saying, the option for you guys to buy our music, boom, is there. And this is how much it costs, and this is what you get for it, and this is what we need you to do at this point. And you drip feed everyone else, you spoon feed them into a place and say, now everybody, come on, we've been doing this together, we're in this together, now we need you to do this. Not, or you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this. I wouldn't do that. I'd say, you now need to help us by buying it here. Simple, and keeping it as simple as possible for you. And that way, when it comes to monitoring what you're selling, you go directly to iTunes and you say, how many have we sold? Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, you might get an extra 5 or 10% of people that would say, I wouldn't buy from iTunes, I'd go somewhere else. But I think it's much better to start with keeping it as simple as possible.
Yeah, just directing your audience into one place.
Okay,
Cool. All right. So, question 2 is from Sadie. He says, I'm a session drummer and don't know if it's better to get into as many different bands as possible or just focus all my efforts on one.
Okay, so the first thing you said is I am a session drummer. So I think it's a weird thing how people have this perception of being a session player and what that is, I think. So the way it usually starts is sort of the bread and butter side to it, where it's just what I would nowadays call a working musician as opposed to a session. So there are session players in the world and there are people that would class themselves at it, but there's highs and lows for any musician. So for me, it's about stability. So depending on, we haven't got a backstory for Sadie, so we don't know if 18, 21, 30, 40, 50, but there will come a time where this is, I talk about this quite a lot, where there is a career of 30, 40 or 50 years. You've got to pay the bills, you've got to be able to pay the mortgage, you've got to be able to pay your car loan, you've got to be able to survive more than just working a job and then getting the odd bit of work at the side. So, which is a working musician, and that means you might find times where you're taking on covers gigs, there might be times where you're teaching, there might be times where you're on tour with the biggest bands in the world, but your career will take massive ups and massive downs. That's just the way that music careers are. So in which case, the way you need to do this is, you do need to be in different projects if you are going to be a session player, or it's about finding the work. So if you can find, just like any business, if you can find someone that's prepared to actually pay you to be in their band full time, fantastic. If you haven't got that, then you need to be setting your sights on making enough or having enough work with the long-term approach of making enough money to be able to survive comfortably. Because just like a business, if you're a business and you've got one client, then that's a very risky business, because if that client decides to take their business elsewhere or someone else wins them over, then all of a sudden that's the end of your business. So exclusivity is a dangerous game when you've only got one person that you're playing for or one person you're working with. So So you've got to be a bit selfish. You've got to be able to be a bit careful. And so I think being a session player is all about building experience. I think it's all about playing with lots of styles, playing with different people. It's about networking. It's about building up your experience as a player, getting as many gigs under your belt. If you've got time, I mean, the whole point of being a session player is that lack of commitment. So you're still committing to someone, saying, look, I'm playing for you. However, you're writing the songs, you're doing all that kind of stuff. I've still got 3 or 4 days. So therefore, I'm going to go and work on someone else's project. As long as they don't clash and you don't get sacked for it, there's nothing wrong with that. That tends to be, that is a gun for hire, as it were. So for me, 2 things. Number 1, yes, I'd be looking at getting as much experience with as many different people as possible and not allowing yourself to be stuck unless you are in a position where the one person who is paying you to be in their band is actually making it worth your while so that you don't have to do something else. But the other thing I'd be doing is I would be just like originals bands, just like covers bands, just like everything, I'd be putting all of my time and effort into making sure that I'm building up my profile as a musician, in this case a drummer, with my social media. I'd be showing the world that I'm gigging. I'd be showing the world every time I'm rehearsing. I'd be showing the world about my playing, so that whilst everyone drops off, because the funny thing with musicians and social media is what I notice is like tensing a muscle. They tense a muscle and it's really good for a week, and then it's not so good for a couple of days, and then it goes silent for a week, and then they get back into it again. And consistency rules. If you can do this consistently every day for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, those are the people that are going to win in the session game. The people who are doing this, thinking of it as a 50-year career, as opposed to what can I do over the next week? What can I do over the next month? So that's the key, is this is a long-term career. And when it comes to your social media, when it comes to your decisions of who you're playing for, it's work. It's how much you can fit in. It's how many people that you can keep happy. It's someone else saying, oh, do me a favor, come and play on my record, or can you do this gig for me on Saturday? I haven't really got any money, but can you jump in on it anyway? If you haven't got anything better to do, you need to be on that gig. So for me, the first thing is when it says I am a session drummer, I find that a really odd statement for musicians, because I hear that a lot. I am a session player. And I just think that's fine. But over a 30, 40, 50-year career, I mean, you can say I am an electrician. And I just find it's like I am a session player is like saying I am an entrepreneur or I am good looking. I think it's things that other people can describe you as. I feel uncomfortable. Like, I love it when someone says I'm an entrepreneur. I absolutely love that. I think it's fantastic. However, I would never dream of saying I'm an entrepreneur, because I think it's the same as someone saying you're really good looking. No one's ever said that to me. But if someone says you're really good looking, you go, thank you very much. But you wouldn't go, I'm really good looking, because you thought of as a bit of a twat. So, and a session player is it's different to what it used to be. This is 2017. Those traditions are all gone. Now, it's, are you making a living from playing? If you are, can you do that for the next 30 or 40, 50 years of your life without having to go and get a job and trying to get onto the next gig? And therefore, you are a working player, and whether that's playing a wedding every so often, or whether that's jumping on tour with Rag and Bone Man and playing some massive stadiums and everything in between, even unless you lucked out and you were in Bruce Springsteen's band and you have this 50-year career that just spans, most artists that you play with will either come to an end or will take periods of time off, where they'll say, I'm taking a year out, and all of a sudden it's up to you then to go and find the next gig. So I would say, for me, this is more a case of just making sure that you are making enough money with your drumsticks in your hand. And if that means bits of teaching, bits of functions, bits of sessions, bits of studio, bits of live, all of that goes into being a working musician. And in which case you cannot, it's a dangerous game to say I'm exclusive just to one artist, unless they are making that completely worth your while. If not, then it's all about networking, meeting people and building your reputation.
So just kind of getting yourself out there as much
I
as
think
possible.
so, yeah. Gig. If just because you play as a session player for an artist, if someone is in your band and they say, "Look, I'm not in your band, but I'm going to session drum," and you say that's fine, if they say, "Well, we're not gigging on Thursday, so I'm going to go and do a gig with someone else," you're not going to get angry with them because they're not exclusive, like absolutely exclusive to your band. So yeah, it's about experience and building and building and building and thinking of this as long term.
Okay. Cool. So, on to question 3. This is from Dan, and he says, I've just finished my A-levels and want to launch myself as an artist. I write and self-produce, but don't know if I should set up proper social media accounts until I have fully produced music and content.
100% you need to, Dan. So I got this message on Instagram this week, and I love the question because this is something that crops up where I'm seeing people who are starting off promoting themselves on their own Facebook, or they're starting off promoting themselves. And then what happens is, I'm not saying Dan's doing this, but then what I notice is people say, I need to do professional stuff. And then they've basically built up part of a profile on their own personal social media, and then they go and set up these kind of professional social media platforms, and it doesn't work. So what I would suggest is, again, going back to the long-term approach, there's always this race to make money. There's always a race to make money through music, and I think a big part of this for me is, if nobody watches my videos, right, tomorrow I'll make another video. Simple as that. And if nobody watches that video, the next day I'm going to make another video, because this isn't just about numbers. This is about me doing something that I love. I feel like this tests me, this increases my knowledge, this gets me to be able to build relationships. It gets me talking about the subject and the industry that I'm passionate about. So I absolutely think that if you're a musician, you should have your own Facebook page, which is your own music Facebook page. But then I would start to just break off from your personal Facebook page. And same thing with Twitter. I wouldn't have my own Damian Keys Twitter, but then say, but if you want my professional opinion, then I've got my Damian Keys music industry Twitter, which is what I see all the time. And I've got my Damian Keys Instagram, which is just me mucking about. But if you want the professional Damian Keys music industry Instagram, then you need to go here. Then people are like, no, I want you. I want to see you. I want to see your journey. I want to see you fucking about. I want to see you making mistakes. I want to see you having fun. And it all goes into one thing. And so the only one difference is Facebook, because Facebook has the personal account, and it has benefits for having a personality / business page, which I think far outweigh having your own personal Facebook. Other than that, when it comes to Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, all of them, it's just about having your socials that people can get on. I still see loads and loads of musicians who are on Instagram that I can't see their stuff. My mind is blown, and I'm like, Instagram is such an amazing way that I can be a part of your journey, and yet I have to be accepted into your Instagram life for me to be able to see you. And I'm like, that's totally acceptable if you say, no, this is my Instagram, it's my personal journey, I don't want anyone else apart from me and my friends. But when you're an artist, what's the point in that? I don't see the point in it. And like, get your name out there. And if you say to people, you can see all my stuff here, but you can't see this bit because that's my personal thing, then people will get pretty pissed off, because they'll go, but I want to see that shit. So for me, yes, I think all of your social media is you, and it represents you. You get to choose what platforms you want to be on, and then from there you get to tell your story and go on that journey. But this idea of having professional versus personal social media platforms isn't right for me. It's just your platform. So when you're on Instagram, that's just, you chose to go on Instagram, you're on it. When you go on Snapchat, it's the same thing. When you go on YouTube, it's the same thing. It's just one of those things. And that's what people want nowadays. They want personality. Nobody signs up to your band and just says, well, I just want to watch the band and learn. It's like, no, I want to see Melissa's journey. I want to see what you ate today. I want to see what you did today. That's the part of being in a band. It's the personal stuff. So absolutely 100%, I think, Dan, you need to get yourself on whatever social media platforms play to your skill set. And I don't buy into this idea of be on all of them. I think do the ones that work for you. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and just, I suppose, as you were saying, not to worry too much about the content being too professional. Just let people in.
It's fun. It's life. We're not this what I call the phone voice. It really annoys me when you pick up the phone and you put on this fake person. That's a tradition that's always been upheld. And my mum, I remember when I was a kid, my mum would pick up the phone and she'd start talking. And I'm thinking, why does she sound like that?
Yeah.
She's putting on a funny voice, and then she put the phone down and talked to me normally, and it's like the phone voice. And people do that on social media, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Just be yourself, be you, do you. There's nobody better at doing you than you, so just do you, and then everyone will buy into it so much more.
Yeah, people love a good story. Okay, so last question is from Sarah, and the question is, what are your feelings on releasing demos versus the final product?
Yeah, and this is a really interesting question. I love this question because demos can be used in so many ways, and there's this perfection thing that happens a lot with musicians where they don't want to release anything until everything is perfect, and it fucks up their entire strategy because everything is just wait. By the way, it's done, it's finished. And what you're actually doing is you're saying that's the end, by the way. Not that's the beginning. We are now on this journey. You're saying that's the end. So it's like opening a book and going, I'm going to tell you a story. The end. It's like, oh, that was shit. But that's what people do with their stuff. And demos are such a great way of telling a story, to say, look, I'm really happy. Even a riff, where you just go, I've got this riff, I'm really happy with the riff. People go, oh, yeah, I love that riff. I'm interested to see where the riff goes. And then I've got a chorus. I'm interested to see where the song goes. And then I've got a demo, and you're like, oh, we've just done this demo. It's not perfect, but we're really happy with it. It's another kind of jump into this with us and see the journey. And then when they get to the finished article, which is we've actually gone and taken those demos and we've gone in the studio, I think you're just taking people on the stepping stones. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. People say, that song that's probably the big hit from the album? Well, this is when we recorded it on our home studio. And people go, oh, I love that. I just want to hear the difference. I want to hear what it's like. So I think there's a lot of mileage out of demos. And what bands tend to do is they record the demos and they keep them and they hold them in. And I wouldn't. I'm a big believer in, if you are about to market an album, you start marketing that album the day you decide to make a new album. And the first day you start to write your first song, you're promoting it onto the upcoming album. So I'm starting to write a book. Right, and I was writing a book about the music industry. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book about the music industry. However, I just don't feel I'm going to bring enough value from as an author with the music industry from what we are doing. And I've got a mentor who's a guy called John Michael Morgan. He wrote a book called Brand Against the Machine. He's an inspirational dude. I would advise everybody to read his book about branding, Brand Against the Machine. Everyone should follow on his social media. He is just, I have so much respect for this guy. And he said, well, the thing with music industry is, there are some music industry books, but if you want to go out and do keynotes, if you want to go out and do talks, the stuff that you're talking about is social media and business. So I thought about it, and I just thought, yeah, actually, that's the stuff I want to do. I want to write a book on the stuff that we're talking about. I want to use the music industry as an analogy, but I want it to be about music industry and business and social media. Now, I'm telling you that now, even though I've spent the last week and a half in Singapore and starting to work on the book, getting out of the office, get into the mindset of it, and then doing little bits of blogs and little bits of Instagrams so that I'm telling people that I'm writing a book. I'm telling you now, the book's not going to be out for 6 months. Yeah. It's going to take me 4 weeks just to get a rough idea of everything on one place before I then go back and rewrite it and give it to an editor. And then I've got to come up with a name and I've got to brand it and I've got to actually market it properly. And each one of those things is a month or 2 months long. I'm telling you now because in 6 months' time, I want you to know that book is going to be available for you to buy. And so it's not come as a shock when I just go, book! And everyone goes, oh yeah, the book. So it's the journey. And it's about me having never written a book, in fact, read very few books, and how this is going to play out and how my written work goes along with the videos that we're doing, all of those things, so that people who appreciate writing and books will actually say, oh, I'll buy that, possibly as a souvenir of the stuff that we talk about and do together, partially because there's stuff in there they can learn from, partially because I'll bug the shit out of people until they'll buy it. But I'm telling you today, even though this book has only been in the making for the last week and a half out of the next 6 months, that is why a demo is important. Because I'm going to be talking about stuff in the book in 3 months' time. I'm going to be saying, there's this bit I thought of for the book, and it's really important, and we're going to talk about it. And that's what a demo is. It's just saying, look, this is not the finished product, but we're really excited about this. What do you think? And it's really good for feedback. It's really good to see what people think of things. It's really good for an excitement factor. And I think demos are underutilized because people are terrified of this judgmental thing. You know, we are living in a time where everyone's fearful of judgment, but we have to put stuff out. They're creatives. We're musicians. That's what we do. We open ourselves up and we put it out to get judged. So therefore, we only want to put out the stuff that we're really, really proud of, so that when it is judged, at least we can say, well, it's our best work. And then we're neglecting the entire story. So for me, I love the idea of saying, look, we've knocked this demo together. What do you think? You guys, like you and me, and this is for me as well, we are in this together. There's other people who don't know who I am that hopefully will buy my book, but we're in this together, and I want your opinion on my book. I want to write bits, and I want you to go, I love that bit there, and I'm constantly monitoring when someone gives me feedback about a video that I've done, or how many likes I've got, or how many people have shared it and watched it, and I'm going, that bit needs to go in the book. That was really important. You know, this stuff's really, really important to my final product. So, because I feel like this is a community that we are in this together. It's not a surprise. I'm not going to jump up one day and go, oh, you didn't know this, but ha ha ha, I wrote a book. So we're in this together because I see this, you, me, as a community for the music industry, social media learning, you know, today's branding, which is different to the last 6 months. And it's not a surprise. It's a journey. And that's what I think. So I think demos are massively underutilized. I think they're an amazing way of putting something out there and saying, hey, this is just demos, but we're really proud of this. What do you think? So I think bands should do more demos and enjoy the process more.
Cool. So, yay to demos.
Yay to demos.
Yay to demos.
That's the way to finish. So, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the YouTube, subscribing to the Facebook. If you want to hit the bell, then it means that my face will pop up every time I release something, and that would help me. If you want to come and say hi, I feel like I spent the last 9 days catching up on my Facebook. I'm nearly up to date with my Facebook messages. Twitter is another way you can get in touch with me. But again, usual stuff, Twitter, Instagram. I'm going to do a thing on Snapchat this week because I feel like Snapchat's just halved in value, and I've got some thoughts about Snapchat. So come and say hi. Come and, you know, the best thing you can do for you and me is just to talk to me, because I might be able to help you. And even if I can't, it's just a relationship that we can build. I'm here to help. So come and say hi. If you want to send some stuff for our wall, the address is below. We need more mugs. Thank you very much to everyone who's participated this week. Otherwise, see you next week.
Bye-bye.